Smackdown is live, and so are we. Welcome to the Tom Colohue channel, where we are talking, as you might expect, WWE Smackdown, the good old-fashioned extravaganza that is. Tonight we get fallout from the Bloodline Civil War. Jey Uso and Jimmy Uso both rejecting Roman Reigns last week. We also have a unification match for the Women's Tag Team Championships and more build towards Money in the Bank. The Bloodline, however, will be the key focus for this week's SmackDown, and I don't think that will be a particular surprise to anyone. We've got Joe, we've got Sean, we've got Daz already in the chat and already in the channel as we head into SmackDown tonight. Should be a good one because we've already started the build towards SummerSlam, which seems likely at this point to be Roman Reigns versus Jey Uso. Will Jey Uso win the championship? I do not think so. Not at this point anyway. Hello Brad, how are you? Welcome to the show, mate. Hello Megan, and hello Peter. Says, evening Tom, thanks for asking. I'm better now, recovered from my accident. Glad to hear it, mate. Glad to hear it. Glad to see you as well, Megan. How you doing? How's the Civ stream going? Bailey says, will there be an early watch party next week? Probably yes. That seems the most likely scenario, so that's what I'll aim for. We may not, spoiler warning, next week. We may just have ourselves a watch party. Sean says, can I share something with you, Tom, and get your opinion on it? It depends what it is. If it's a video, I'm not going to watch it because I'm currently live and streaming. But it depends what it is. James says, I said in the stream a few weeks that Disney might be interested in streaming WWE because they lost the cricket. Now it's being reported. Pretty cool there. Yep, the cricket really does make all the difference. All the difference. I love the intensity of the music we're hearing at the moment. Roman Reigns, of course, being Roman Reigns, he always gets the top quality music. A lot's been made of the fact that he's carrying 3 championships, even though he's only actually carrying 1. It's really simple. He's Roman Reigns. He'll do what he wants. He'll literally do whatever the hell he wants. He's Roman Reigns. As we get through our opening segment, please do be aware that the quickest way we can encourage growth on this channel and get more people watching is by hitting like. We have 16 viewers and the 3 likes so far. If you're able to do so, please remember to hit like and we will continue to grow. Tom Colohue gets sooner and sooner, closer and closer to full time every time someone hits like. We also hit a new record earlier, 2,466 subscribers. Numbers are doing good. Megan says the music is great. The whole thing would make a great movie with the right editing. Nothing you can do on CapCut. But hey, this is what the WWE team do. You can tell just out of pure video package, you can tell the intensity, the history, the artistry. Joe says, Tom, I did my Money in the Bank predictions. I predicted John Cena to do his prize return, Money in the Bank. I wish you the best of luck in being right in your prediction. Peter says, don't make me get the table out. Like and mean it. Today's beverage of choice, by the way, Dr. Pepper. It's sort of become the family drink of the last few days. We go through phases. I'll always go back to Cherry Coke. Cherry Coke's my OTP, my one true love. What does a P mean in OTP? Anyway, today, Dr. Pepper. Because everyone loves a bit of pepper, bit of spice, bit of meaning. We are still in opening hype package. It looks like we're getting into the full 5 minutes, but I can't really blame anyone on this one. This is Roman and the Bloodline at its peak. A double super kick to Roman, and probably the most formalized face turn the Usos have ever had since 2016 when they turned heel. They've been back and forth, they've been very much on the fence, but this is firm face. Far away from heel. Peach says Dr. Pepper is OG. James says any predicted returns, call-ups or debuts for Money in the Bank? None for me. None for me. We've spoken about this before, but let's recap. As you guys know, Cherry Coke is my beverage of choice. It's got all the power. And I get the feeling if ever I made a wish list or a Dropbox or something like that, it would just be full of Cherry Coke. But as we had many a conversation about favourite crisp, what's your favourite drink? We are opening the Usos. In case you're not aware, they have been down since day one-ish. It's a strong pop, really making it clear that they are on the good side at the moment. The announce team are asking for a welcome. No doubt in my mind that there is revenge coming from Roman. He will not take this lying down. Of course he can, Peter. Pardon me. Of course he can, Peter. Whatever you want. Whatever you want. Gordy says, what's up, Tom? Hope all is well with you. Should be a good SmackDown. It should be indeed, Gordy. Welcome to the show, mate. Glad to see you. Glad to hear from you. How you doing? I'm doing very good, thank you. Bailey says, if WWE wanted to do it, there is probably enough content with the Bloodline to release this as a movie. They have confirmed that the Money in the Bank will feature Roman Reigns and Solo Sikoa versus the Usos. I do not fancy the Usos' chances on that, but it does formally mean that Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn should be able to walk away at this point. I do think there is enough to make a film. I think this will end in a 5-6 piece documentary in the making of, in the same mold as The Undertaker. This will go down in history. The Bloodline are one of those factions that will be spoken about amongst the top, and yeah, they're definitely up there with the DX, with the Evolution, with the Shield. Definitely. Daz says, I'm on water now, Tom, about to go to bed. Fair enough, Daz. You don't want to get too hyped up before bedtime. Sean is backing Dr. Pepper. Megan says, Cherry Coke, Red Cola, Dr. Pepper. Give me any of those, and I'm happy. Uso chants from the crowd, making it known where they stand. Joe says, I reckon Roman will be angry after what Jay did. Tom, what are your thoughts about after what Jay did? I reckon Roman will be angry, and I reckon he was angry already. Okay, we were going to open with the Bloodline, but change it to the Usos. Yep. So he forgot he was a member of the Bloodline anymore. Blue says, hey Tom, with the announced PLEs will be at least 11 this year. You mentioned earlier in the year they'll be reducing the number to 8 to 10. What do you think has changed, Vince? That was the plan. That's what they've been discussing. It was reported afterwards by a few different places. But yeah, looks like Vince. Megan says they really are going for the pops with this Money in the Bank show. They know the crowd that they've got. They know the hype level that they're going to get. They know the fans are going to be behind Bayley. They know the fans are going to be behind Bayley. Thank you very much, Bowsboy43, for becoming a follower on Twitch. We continue to grow on both sides. I'm very grateful to you for clicking that follow button. We'll be seeing more of you, I hope. Sean says, I still say the Shield is better. Sai says, morning, Tom and all. Hope everyone's good. Doing very good, thank you, Sai. Morning to you. We will be watching in the evening at 8 o'clock. In the days to come, next week. I'm excited for it. Eric says, I can't believe we're already about to have Money in the Bank. I feel like Liv just cashed in. Peter says, Caffrey's alcohol, cherry Pepsi, as none. Ewolf says, anyone asked the weekly Randy question? No, I'm very disappointed. Very disappointed. Sean says, Charlotte versus Lacey was confirmed on Twitter for tonight. That's a shame. That's a big shame. Lacey has no chance of getting much of anything out of that. Blue says, what would you say the last time the WWE had a storyline this hot? I really liked Charlotte versus Becky in the build-up to Becky versus Ronda. I think that whole lead up to WrestleMania 35 was fantastic. We also had Kofi Mania, which was this hot. Much more brief, but still good. Peter says the Usos wearing We the Ones t-shirt. That's weird. Not unfair. Blue asks a good question, and I'm going to raise this to the group by and large. What's the last time that the WWE had a storyline as hot as Roman Reigns and the Bloodline? Answers in the chat. Let me know. Peter says Caffrey has a habit of causing me to fall over, but it's so nice. Bailey says Charlotte versus Lacey under 3 minutes. Probably. The women's matches have not been having very long recently, have they? Nice to have more than one. Megan says it seems to have been a couple of changes from the preview on Twitter compared to the one on IG earlier. Charlotte versus Lacey instead of Bailey versus Shotzi. and LA Knight versus Rey Mysterio instead of Rey versus Butch versus Santos. LA Knight getting opportunities there. As I spoke about earlier, LA Knight right now is on a media tour. And when someone's on a media tour, it tends to suggest that there's something big about to happen. I've also mentioned the involvement of Vince McMahon directly in response to LA Knight and the push he could be getting, and how Triple H wants to be involved in it. LA versus Butch versus Santos. Got you, Megan. We're opening with a strong bit of context promo from Jay and Jimmy. Jimmy, for some reason, looked like he was reading from a script there. He just keeps looking over to the announce table. I genuinely think they've got cue cards for him. Jay, meanwhile, doesn't need it. Blue says, according to your favourite SRS, lovely Blue, appreciate that, mate. SmackDown got Vinced tonight. Do you know anything about that? Little bit, not too much. Not too much. I know that Vince is getting more and more involved. Jey Uso just saying, let me talk to you. Interesting little hint, that. Megan says LA versus Santos versus Butch was the original match planned and it's now LA versus Rey. Thank you for the clarification, Megan. Joe believes the biggest storyline was John Cena and The Rock. That was a pretty big moment, that's fair. That says Tommy's Triple H there tonight. Yeah. And Errol says, miss the old Attitude days. I do not. The wrestling was terrible and brief. The storylines were vulgar at best. And they put basically 15 or 16 different storylines into a 2-hour show. It was ADHD TV and it hurt to watch. It's one of those, when I go back to watch it now, painful. Painful. Strong from Wade Barrett. So we're talking LA Knight, Rey Mysterio immediately. That means that's going to be our first match. But it's interesting hearing talk of the Usos digging their own graves. Strong words. Strong words. Sean says, do you know if being a part of the Bloodline was pitched to Trinity to get her to return? I spoke about that at the time. In quite some distance. Getting a recap of LA Knight versus Santos Escobar, in which LA Knight picked up a loss. As I've mentioned, Triple H does prefer people to work from the bottom upwards. LA Knight at the moment is very much working that bottom. Bailey says people forget how bad some of the mid-card matches were in the Attitude Era. The main event matches were terrible in the Attitude Era. You go to a main event of Raw, you get a 3-minute match, which is a brawl through the crowd, and then someone's drunk. Peter says the Sheamus and his boys finished now. No, not even close. They're just not being used right now. Essentially, from what I can tell, Butch, Ridge Holland, favourites of Triple H, not necessarily favourites of Vince McMahon. Sean says if Bayley versus Shotzi was scrapped, then who will take the last spot in the women's Money in the Bank match? Isn't Bayley already in it? Pretty sure Bayley's already in it, Sean. Rey Mysterio is making his entrance. You will find that as you get more involvement from Vince, you will get more involvement from Rey Mysterio. There's a number of people he leans on pretty heavily. Rey Mysterio is definitely one of those, who will just be featured more and more often. And that'll tell you how often Vince is being involved. Triple H will use him sparingly. He's using Rey Mysterio to try and get the LWO over. That's not how Vince McMahon uses people. That says Attitude Era in 2000 my favourite era, Tom. Each of their own. I personally think now is the best time in pro wrestling history. I've really enjoyed it. Or I should say I'm really enjoying it. As we head into commercial break, we have some hype for Finn Balor versus Seth Rollins. I mentioned this was the match going forwards after Clash of Champions. Clash night after the champion won. After Seth first won the championship, Finn Balor was already penciled in to be the guy. And Finn Balor a while ago was promised a match with Gunther in an NXT UK show. That match never materialised. Finn Balor will get the hometown greeting. Seth might need to play a bit more heel. James says Bayley and Shotzi were supposed to have a match today for Bayley's spot. Then she'll keep it. She'll keep it. Joe says, I think Jay could be the one to beat Roman. I certainly think it's a possibility. Certainly think it's possible. Guaranteed, no. I think Solo could well be the one, personally. But if they book it right, have Jay lose at SummerSlam and then have him win the Rumble, every possibility. Dark Society says, hey Tom, do you think Roman gets pinned and loses the title in a cash-in? Nope. He cannot be cashed in on. He's simply not that guy. Though I would like it if Damian Priest, for example, won Money in the Bank, Finn Balor lost to Seth Rollins, and then we had a cash-in. That would certainly be a good way to play that particular line for me. I'd enjoy that just as a general rule. It would certainly launch Damian Priest into the stratosphere, but would also herald the beginning of the end for Judgment Day. Though I say beginning of the end, I do feel like Judgment Day has been on thin ice for a little while now. Just a little while, but enough time, you know? It's noticeably on the ice. Horsey says, good evening, Tom. Hope you're well. Welcome, Horsey, mate. Your streams are doing really well at the minute. You keep that up, mate. I'm really happy to see it. That says Raw's in Sheffield next Thursday. Smackdown in Dublin. James says, I think Rikishi will beat Roman to be the real tribal chief. Joe Marciano, you seem to be asking questions of wrestling days. I do want to point out that's not where you are. Wrestling Days is a separate channel, someone I know a little bit but have a mountain of respect for. I do advise, if you are in the wrong place, by all means just nip over there and you'll find yourself at home. Joe says, Tom, I would be shocked if Drew returns tonight. Me too, he's not on SmackDown. Eric says, when do you think Jimmy and Jay come back for Solo? We'll need to get through Money in the Bank first. I think Solo will come for them before they come for Solo. That just makes more sense to me, that Solo will be isolated and exposed and also kind of not have a problem with it. I think ultimately, whatever the next step of the story is, Solo comes out looking real strong. Roman and Solo, for me, need to win at Money in the Bank. Absolutely need to win. Just keep the Usos under the thumb, under the foot, in line, just for a little longer. Gotcha, Horsey. Makes sense. Blue says, do you think Vince's current involvement with creative is a net positive? Right now, I'm going to say no, because I do feel his interference is disrupting the plans that were already in place. Outside of that, though, I don't necessarily think Vince in charge of creative is a bad thing once he and Triple H learn to work together a bit more smoothly. Rey Mysterio is in the ring. We have started with a 15-minute promo and then a commercial break, which definitely harks back to the days of the Attitude Era. If this match lasts more than 3 minutes, not so much. LA Knight, who, as I mentioned, is on the media circuit at the moment. You're going to see a lot of interviews with him in the next few days, on his way down to the ring. Getting a lot of love from the crowd. They've played down a lot of the heel elements. They played down that a lot, and I can understand why. So I said this on your Discord, but I can't see past Logan Paul for Money in the Bank. If he's doing his everyday thing with that briefcase, WWE will be getting huge exposure, and you are not wrong. Not wrong at all. You think back to Bad Bunny as 24/7 champion. Very similar situation. he took that everywhere and got it over. It's one of the reasons I thought it was certainly possible Logan Paul could end up being the United States champion. Eric says, I remember you saying quite a few times Mandy Rose was supposed to win the SmackDown title at Mania. I think he said 36. Was the pandemic the reason why she didn't win it? 35. So there are 2 times she was supposed to win it, 35 and 36, but 35 would have been Asuka versus Becky Lynch originally, before Becky got over the way she did, with Asuka being the face, Becky being the heel, and Becky losing the SmackDown Women's Championship to Asuka. This was, of course, changed, and with Becky Lynch working with Ronda Rousey, the idea then was that what would happen would be Asuka defending the SmackDown Women's Championship against Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville in a triple threat. Mandy Rose would then win and start a feud with Sonya Deville. Sonya Deville would be the next champion. 2 very brief championships, followed by a return to Asuka, I believe. I'm not sure on that one. This was changed later on. Around Mania 36 is the time that we were looking at Mandy Rose to win again, because we had the Otis storyline in that intervening period. She and Sonya Deville got extremely over. We had the breakup between the 2 of them, and we were heading to a hair versus hair match at SummerSlam, which would have put Mandy Rose firmly on the map, and Sonya Deville would have been bald at the end of it. Mandy Rose would have won the championship shortly after and lost it at WrestleMania to Sonya Deville. That was the idea. Of course, we know what happened to stop that. There was a home invasion. Just says Tom, I think you know before Night of Champions, when Roman agreed to tag team with Solo, I think Roman is sort of scared of Solo a little bit. I think they'll play that down in the days to come. I think they'll play it down. Megan says, yay, eye candy time. Good time to be Megan. But I get what you're saying. Rey Mysterio is a very attractive man. LA Knight nearly spearing the ref in his efforts to get into the corner there. Sean says, do you think Vince would have come back if Endeavour didn't want him? No. If he wasn't wanted, he wouldn't have come back. If Endeavour buy the company and don't want to bring back Vince, then there's no question Vince won't come back. Okay, that was not good work by LA Knight. He didn't seem to be sure whether he was supposed to be flying out of the ring or in the 619 position, so he ended up in the 619 position. But the camera had to hide what he was doing there. Just a little bit of confusion. Are we going to do the slide and the splash? I like the slide and the splash. He did the slide and the splash. Splash. He did the slide and the splash. Heading into another commercial break. So far, a little bit clunky, but Rey Mysterio smooth as ever. Rocky LA Knight certainly got a lot of attention right now. He has some very good moments. Not every single moment can be a winner. Dark Society says whoever pins and takes the title off Roman will be put on the map, which is why personally I think Solo's more likely than Jay. Blue says, I know it's way too early, but if you had to, just the 4 main title matches, men's and women's for WrestleMania 40, what would you go with? Okay. Solo Sikoa versus Roman Reigns for the Undisputed Heavyweight Championship. Cody Rhodes challenging Gunther for the World Heavyweight Championship. Bianca Belair challenging Rhea Ripley for the Women's World Championship. And yes, I know Bianca's on the wrong show. I don't much care. And then on the SmackDown side, personally, I'd be going Io Sky versus Asuka. So just wait for a moment and think about those 4 matches and whether or not you would watch a WrestleMania with those 4 matches at the top. Roman Reigns versus Solo Sikoa. Cody Rhodes versus Gunther. Bianca Belair versus Rhea Ripley. Asuka versus Io Sky. Would you watch that show? That's fair, Rocky. We're all entitled to our opinions on it, and I personally am not too familiar with them either. 456 says, hello Tom, what up wrestling fans in chat? Welcome 456, how you doing? Also says, do my listen along again, mate. Love the listen alongs. See, I get it. Like, I wouldn't watch a show like this, like I'm producing, but I would listen to it. I would put the headphone in my ear while watching SmackDown. That's the point of the watch along. I don't see much point in watching 4 or 5 screens, but if you're watching SmackDown, you can listen. Sean says, do you think Solo is more likely to beat Roman over Braun Breaker? Yes, in every possible way. Every possible way. Eric says, remember when Claudio Castagnoli got pinned by an 11-year-old? Nicholas, yes, I do. Good times. Blue says, I'd be very happy with those matches. Nice. Eric says, take all my money. Dad says, Tom, remember 22 when Rey Mysterio did a frog splash off the top rope? I mean, Mania. I don't remember every Mania. I wasn't really watching at that time, so I can't necessarily say I do. So I says, Tom, remind me of your birthday. I need to work up a suitable, terrible overlay. Any ideas welcome. My birthday is the 7th of July. 2 weeks from now, we'll be doing ourselves a birthday stream, as per usual. But it'll be on a Friday this time, so it is exactly 2 weeks from now. It's not a lot of time, is it? Not a lot of time. You've made some ridiculous overlays, like some masterfully bad overlays. I think the Randy Orton has to be involved in this one because that's the question I get a lot. Much like Sasha Banks was involved last time because everyone was asking about Sasha Banks. I mean, you know your stuff. Sai is asking what he should make for my birthday overlay. What random ridiculous things do you associate with Tom Colohue? Just a general question. What do you associate with Tom Colohue that he could potentially put on that overlay? Peter says, try and include a sentence from Venom asking for a Raw watch along. It's not unfair. It's not unfair. We're a little more back and forth now between LA Knight and Rey Mysterio. The crowd are not particularly into this, I've got to say that. Bailey suggests Tom with the pirate hat. Sai says, so far I have Randy Norton, Cherry Coke and the Blackpool Tower. I believe Cherry Coke and the Blackpool Tower in the last one as well. The pirate hat's a good shout. I can't think of much else that's really associated at this point. Cherry Coke has always been a thing. It's always been a thing. Norton twice. No Airwolf, I've never watched the wrestling Stow. I don't know what a Stow is. Like Stowaway? Eric says, Tom, did you ever have a moment when you stopped watching wrestling? Mine was 2000 to 2021. Yes, it was 2001 to 2016. I moved across the country with my family and we lost access to wrestling. In the UK, it was a little harder to get. So we just did what we could. If you mean the channel The Wrestle Story, I'm familiar with the Glean family and have spoken to them on occasion. As they do watch-alongs, typically I'll be either in bed or doing my own. Eric suggests showing someone the way. The hand signals became a thing. Oh. Surely. I haven't done it as much recently, but everything is still on the table. Just so you know. Just so you know, everything is still on the table. Good audible by LA Knight. This is clunky. I think that's the finish. LA Knight wins. That was not a great match. He knows it. He knows it. Peter says, and tables, which is not unfair. Not unfair at all. Sean said, did you see that Mr. Kennedy said he'd like to wrestle Seth Rollins? Everyone would like to wrestle Seth Rollins. I do not blame him. Joe says, Tom, you're going to get so many birthday messages in the chat on that night. I think I might all have to sing as well. We'll see, Joe. I think it might be your first one. The birthday streams are typically pretty low-key. I don't really focus too much on wrestling for them. It's very much just, here's where my life is, here's what I'm up to, here's what I'm planning to do for the future. LA Knight holding on to the mask. Chased off by Escobar. This very much suggests that we're going to have a post-Money in the Bank feud between Escobar and LA Knight. And very much also suggests that they're keeping LA Knight as a heel. Dom says a lot of botches. I wouldn't say a lot, but certainly some. Size saying 5 out of 10 for a Rey Mysterio match. Imagine that. I'm giving it a 4 personally. How do we rate the match between LA Knight and Rey Mysterio? It was a 10-minute match. Commercial break in the middle of it, which I think hurt the rhythm a little bit, but also just generally not very smooth. Solo Sikoa walking backstage. Just punched Ridge Holland in the throat. I think that's Ridge Holland. So I guess that's what that's what the Brawling Brutes are doing tonight. So how do you rate the match? Bailey also gives it a 5 out of 10. Joe says, sorry, what do you mean by overlay? This blue thing around me right now, that's an overlay. So Sai designs these for me, which I very much appreciate. Thank you, Sai. And he likes to make them just a little bit ridiculous. A little bit ridiculous. Which is in keeping with the theme of the Call of You channels. Megan says, I'll go a 6, some slip-ups, but no one got hurt. Very true, no one got hurt. Joe says Tom should be wearing a WWE Championship on his birthday. I'm never going to be that guy. Never. Peter gives it a 4 out of 10. Airwolf a 5. Dom a 4. James says, why are they trying to make LA Knight a heel so bad? They're not trying to make him a heel. He already was a heel. LA Knight's been a heel the whole time. So they're not trying to make a change here. They're just trying to maintain consistency with what they already had and what they were already working with. LA Knight's the bad guy. LA Knight's the heel. LA Knight's the guy you don't want to take home and introduce to your parents. Except for a few people in here who very much would like to do that, I'm sure. We're on commercial break one more time. A quarter of the way through SmackDown, we've had one match so far, and it's been okay. So not the strongest start to SmackDown, but the opening promo was good. We know Solo Sikoa's on the prowl. Jack gives it a 3. Joe goes even further down to a 2. I wouldn't go that far, certainly. Thank you, Peter. It was indeed Ridge. He looks different with less hair. He really does. But an okay start. I can't give SmackDown too much credit so far. Wolf says, when are you starting the watch party for Money in the Bank? My watch parties always start when the pre-show starts. So when the pre-show starts, I will start. It'll be weird doing a watch party that early. Like, it'll be nice to go to bed at a reasonable time on a pay-per-view, but it's going to be a weird one. Might get an entirely different audience because there's just so many different people available at that time. It'll be like back in the pandemic when there's just people everywhere. Megan says this is a wheel spin before the UK trip. I mean, you say that, and by and large, that seems to be true. LA Knight's just basically involved at the moment. Rey Mysterio the same. They're treading water. They're doing what they always do before a pay-per-view. But what I will say is that certain storylines continue to move at pace. The Bloodline. The Bloodline always moves forwards. There's very little actual waste of time with the Bloodline. Outside of that, not much at this point. We haven't seen Bobby Lashley for a while. We haven't seen much of Austin Theory recently. There's more they could do that they're just not choosing to do at this point in time. Joe, I celebrate my birthday in my own way. I'd love you to be a part of that. I would love everyone here to be a part of that. 7th of July, we will be hosting ourselves a birthday stream. It will take the place of spoiler warning, unless there's any particularly big wrestling news. So hopefully you'll all be there to celebrate the continuation of Tom Colohue. Not over yet. Not over yet. Like, let's just say I've made a good start, but it's not over yet. Cheers, Joe. Airwolf, I have no idea what you've just copied there, but it looks like speculation. Don't know what you're asking. We are backstage with Ridge Holland. Adam Pearce wants to talk to Heyman. Sheamus wants to wrestle Solo Sikoa. That's a risk. But let's be honest, Sheamus is kind of the perfect opponent for Solo Sikoa. The physicality present in that match is going to be amazing. If this is a Vince McMahon choice, it's the right one. Wade Barrett's been a bit clunky tonight as well. Wolf says no Adam tonight. Adam Pearce was right there, mate. Right there. Sheamus is coming down to the ring with a microphone. He wants Solo Sikoa. That's okay, Joe. Whatever you want to do. I don't think you'll have an opportunity to do so. The call out has happened. Logically, that's going to be our main event then. Solo Sikoa versus Sheamus. I'm excited for that. That could be a lot of fun. Next up is the Women's Tag Team Championship Unification match. Logically then, after the draw segment, we'll get the Lacey Evans versus Charlotte Flair match. And then moving on to Sheamus versus Solo. Black and white, the clear theme for Ronda and Shayna. This is a huge opportunity for Shayna Baszler. She's been a tag team champion before, but the association with Ronda Rousey, which I reported was going to happen when Ronda first returned, is a huge opportunity for her. Really creates a lot of guaranteed big moments. Raquel Rodriguez is ringside. She's still working with the tag team champions at the moment, but she does need a new someone to work with. Shotzi, I believe, is currently on SmackDown, but Raquel is on Raw. So she shouldn't really be here at all. But it's a tag team championship, you forgive it. We haven't seen a lot of Fiery Dawn since they arrived on the main roster. I don't fancy their chances here. I want to be optimistic. I want to be positive. I don't fancy their chances here. Eric, whatever happens with Damien Priest, there's 1,000,001 options and he doesn't have any say in any of them. Alba Fire and Isla Dawn on the way down to the ring. Megan celebrating the prospect. And I say, I really, unfortunately, don't fancy the chances, but Michael Cole has just confirmed that we are going to see the Tag Team Championships defended on all three brands. NXT is being a lot more involved, and a triple threat tag match featuring a team from Raw, a team from SmackDown, and a team from NXT would make a lot of sense for SummerSlam for these Tag Team Championships. Eric says it's a cool entrance for them. I wholeheartedly agree. Airwolf asks, who's your favourite modern day faction? Modern day, I'm honestly loving Judgment Day. Absolutely loving Judgment Day right now. Airwolf, what's your favourite modern day faction? And a question for you, is the Shield modern? I don't think they are. Broke up nearly 10 years ago. This will officially be the end of the Women's Tag Team Championships of NXT. Honestly, I don't entirely understand why they were made in the first place. You already had a set of Tag Team Championships. You just had to use them. I don't always get it, personally. Very negative response from the crowd. That works very much in the WWE's favour for Fire and Dawn. Similar gear but not the same. How are we rating the gear tonight? I think Fiery Dawn looked pretty good in theirs. I like that it matches up but also doesn't. Clearly manoeuvrable, and they look badass. We got a Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler keeping up the black and white theme, but Ronda Rousey gets gold. Shayna Baszler doesn't get gold. Peter's favourite was indeed the Shield. Airwolf is loving some Judgment Day. Now, the women's matches, as I mentioned, do not seem to get a lot of time. So hopefully, that's about to change. If we have two women's matches, hopefully we at least get some time of it. Bit of teamwork there. Fiery Dawn need to come out of this looking good. Not great, Not great. Looking good. Megan says, redhead, Scottish, a little bit spooky, a little bit unhinged, like to fight. They may as well be my sisters. Bailey says, favourite old school faction? If we're going old school, personally, I was a DX guy. I was very much a DX guy. Megan says, as much as I like Shayna, I want Ronda to lose. Ronda definitely wouldn't lose. A designated loser of the team, much like it was when it was Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler, is Shayna Baszler. Ronda Rousey's just there to destroy people. As you may or may not be seeing happen right now. The belief from Triple H is that if you pair people up with a big name draw like Ronda Rousey, it will get eyes on the wrestlers, even if the wrestlers lose. It doesn't matter. People will watch clips and people will recognize the wrestlers. This is good. This is valuable. And ultimately, it does kind of work. It's always why they put people with Brock Lesnar, to try and get them over further. That's why Ricochet wrestled Brock Lesnar as an example. But it's not perfect. And when there's someone as unpopular as Ronda Rousey, it's difficult to find that many people who are checking in, week out for her. It's telling, I feel, that this is not the draw segment. The draw segment seems more likely to be Charlotte Flair. Ghost says, hi Tom and chat, hope everyone's doing well. Long time no see. Not that long, Ghost. Not that long, but it's lovely to see you back. How you doing? Blue says, weren't the NXT titles made because Vince didn't want to use the tag titles? Vince McMahon never wanted to make the tag titles in the first place. He had no interest in making them. He only did it to appease Sasha Banks and Bayley. Airwolf says, favorite faction ever, NWO, until they messed it up with too many members and sub-factions. Yeah, when we went Wolfpack. Okay. Ronda Rousey showing off a little bit. Most of the work was done by Alba Fire, but you've got to respect it. Commercial break, only a couple of minutes in. This will not be the draw segment, so we will be seeing the match end when we come back from commercial. Maybe Edge will be the draw segment. Remember Edge. Remember. I'm pretty sure he was there at one point. As we head into the second third of the show, be aware that we have 22 viewers and only the 12 likes at the moment. If you've not yet done so, please do consider hitting that like button. It does massively help the growth of the channel. And the hope is that one day I'll be able to go full time. Also, I've got plenty of recent videos out that you can check in on. There is news on the return schedule for Drew McIntyre in the video section. There is news on my predictions for the Money in the Bank pay-per-view, and there is also news on the battle ongoing between CM Punk and Dave Meltzer, which hopefully you might enjoy. So by all means, check those out, particularly if you're new and haven't really spent much time here before. Eric says Ronda may have hurt her knee. Ronda is scripted to have hurt her knee. I'm sure she hasn't actually hurt herself in any way, shape or form. Bailey says, I don't think Vince even wanted a women's title. That was an appeasement to Stephanie. Not entirely. He did want women's championships, but Stephanie very much pushed for the 4 horsewomen to be involved. What's Hob, Eric? What's Hob? John says the NXT Women's Tag Team titles were made after a controversial ending to a WWE Women's Tag Team Championship match the previous week between Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez and champions Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler. Seems to me that Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler just didn't really want to keep going down to NXT, which is a shame. Maybe they just didn't want to lose to Kai and Raquel Rodriguez. Feels weird saying Raquel Gonzalez now. Maybe they just didn't want to lose, which would have been a shame. Shayna Baszler has always been pretty happy to just take the loss. And certainly, I think she'd have been very, very happy to lose to Dakota Kai. Oh, House of Black. Not seen much of it. I know Aleister Black is a big deal. Or Malachi as he is now. But I just haven't seen too much of it. So what's next? We still need to see more build to Money in the Bank. If we're not going to see something with Bayley and Shotzi, then we're going to have to see something else. And if we've gone with Charlotte versus Lacey, I'm very confused. Unless they're planning to get Charlotte into the Money in the Bank ladder match, which is not an impossibility. Airwolf says, do you prefer a hard draft split or a flexible draft? It depends. At the moment, the rosters are simply too girthy. Too girthy. So with the amount of people on the rosters, you might as well have a firm draft split so that everyone gets a bit more chance at TV time. If you have a smaller amount, I would then go a bit softer and have the champions going back and forth. Blue says, does the stream help you get through blah episodes of SmackDown? It really does. There have been some bad episodes. I still remember doing a Raw watch along for the Raw after WrestleMania, and what a waste of time that was. What a waste of time that was. But I survived it because I was able to share my pain with all of you. I think it's very telling, by the way, that Raquel Rodriguez is at ringside, but she's not on commentary. You can tell who the WWE have faith in on the microphone when they don't let them anywhere near a microphone. Oh, that was a good line. At the moment, Alba Fire is in an ankle lock. Doesn't seem to have much chance of a counter. Fiery Dawn have not had the rub of the green so far. They've not been made to look particularly strong. They've had some good moments, but the commercial break has taken a bit of the fire out of it, if you'll forgive the pun. It doesn't help that we just haven't seen anything of them, which makes it just extra difficult to get behind them. We don't really know who they are. So you'd want to potentially cheer them against Ronda and Shayna, because Ronda and Shayna, people you want to boo. But there's a difference between wanting to cheer for someone and them just being there while you want to boo the other one. There's not a lot of energy in this crowd right now. Eric says, no, 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 no. Charlotte in the bank, please. Bit of a clap, but it was brief. Beach says, Tom, can you explain what happens when there is a commercial? I've never got it. They just continue. The wrestling match does continue, but certain people, Randy Orton for example, just uses rest holds. He doesn't see much value in putting on risk, taking risks and putting on an actual wrestling match when the only people watching are in the arena. So he'll tend to go into a rest hold, but I doubt anyone in this ring did. Eric says, remember that one SmackDown when we just started talking about mommy and daddy in a sexual turn? Yeah. Mate, Rhea Ripley and Dominic, they've made it a thing. And it's hard to sit here and say it's not sexual, because it's sexual. Admittedly, they know what they're doing. It's a kink, and, you know. But still. Sean says, earlier you said Johnny was on a list of superstars that Vince wants to de-push. Is Candice on that list? I read out everyone I'm aware of. I can't give you extra names. There are no extra names to give. Couple of big pop-worthy moments here. Ronda Rousey getting thrown out the ring. Suicide Dive was also kind of like a clothesline. Good catch as well. Respect where it's due. They're very much going with the surnames. Fire and Dawn. Shayna hasn't picked up a lot of wins. Oh, there's a tap, but she's not legal. That's a tap on both sides. They never stood a chance. We know they never stood a chance. Ghost says with this unification match happening, which is definitely going to result in Ronda and Shayna winning, which they did, what does this mean for NXT's women's tag team division? The titles go back to being defended on all three brands. That's the intention, yes. The championships travel across. Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler are booked in for a tag team match on NXT. The WWE right now are trying to push NXT and trying to get promises that they will get a good big TV deal for it. When you have Ronda Rousey turning up on it, that's going to help. When you have Seth Rollins turning up on it, that's going to help. And promises of more of that will do good things for NXT. Peter says, I mean, do the wrestlers know when it's a break? Yeah, the announce team let the ref know. The ref tells the wrestlers. Wolf says, if you had creative control, who would you push? Bray Wyatt. I would have said Alexa Bliss, but not right now. Rhea Ripley was always going to be the one for me. But she's already getting pushed, so. Eric is not happy. Alba Fire and Isla Dawn have already left ringside. So we can continue with Raquel. Suggest Liv Morgan might be about to return. So who's Raquel's partner? Liv back? Liv's back. Looks like we may be picking up where we left off. The plan for Liv Morgan, as I previously reported, was to be in a wrestling feud with Ronda Rousey. Now, the idea was we would see it as a tag team feud at first, and then we go to a singles feud. Ronda Rousey wants to make Liv look good. She wants to work with Liv in a way that simply is better resulting than the way they previously went. Liv Morgan obviously very happy with that. Liv Morgan was being considered as a challenger for Rhea Ripley, and that is likely to be happening in the months to come. Rousey and Baszler walking away. We could potentially see this for Money in the Bank. Sean says, would Ronda appear on NXT or would she be like Roman and think it's beneath her? Roman doesn't think it's beneath him, but he has a limited day contract. They just take advantage of it when they can. Ronda Rousey would be happy to do so. They have a breaking news graphic. We know what it's going to be. They have confirmed Sheamus will take on Solo Sikoa in the main event. Eric excited to see Liv back. Bailey says, Liv wearing some big shoes. She's not that tall. Pretty Deadly will be in the Grayson Waller effect in the draw segment. Grayson Waller's been in the draw segment a few times recently. Horsey with a very generous donation. Thank you very much, Seth. That's great listening along. Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Horsey. I appreciate that. Eric, I didn't report that Liv was back. I reported on what the plans were for Liv and how she would be used when she does come back. Ed says, oh, Liv's back. Too bad about the match result. Yeah, and I get that. I certainly think it's possible the tag team match ends up on Money in the Bank. It's not impossible. Liv Morgan versus Rhea Ripley could still be in the near future. They essentially used Shotzi to stall for time and did a pretty good job of it. Peter says, I would break a leg on my neck in those boots. Dom has given the match a 5. I would definitely say that match was a 6.5 for me. I feel like they actually worked really well together. There was some good chemistry. Alba Fire and Isla Dawn weren't made to look like they were in like they were out of Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler's league, which is really important. Like really important, as you guys know. So I feel like they were at least respected and treated as a threat, but the finish was very clear and definitive. I'm giving it a 6.5. Jack gives the match a 7. I think as women's tag team championship matches go, it's a good spot to be in. Megan says a 6 for the match, loses points because Isla and Alba lost. Well, LA Knight won, so you can't have everything. I mean, you can try, but you can't have everything. Our first hour is nearly up. Grayson Waller, as I've said, with Pretty Deadly, will be in the draw segment, which tells you everything you need to know. The WWE seemingly have faith that Grayson Waller will keep people from changing the channel, even though he and Pretty Deadly are on a mission to be as annoying as they can possibly be, as a character trait. Wiggly says Shayna Baszler deserves a singles push. and would like to see Ronda versus Shayna. I do think that's the end result here. I think that may be a WrestleMania match, the tag team being a method by which they can get there. I feel Ronda's last match in the WWE will likely be against Shayna, because Shayna will be sticking around. Ronda will not. You mean Asuka? She's not gone anywhere, mate. Asuka's still very much the champion. Hello, Hassan. Welcome to the show, mate. James says the Party Girls had a better match against Ronda and Shayna. Wow. James not a fan. So I said a 6.5. So overall, I think that's a good place to be. I certainly wouldn't argue if that was the end result for a match that I'd had. A 6.5, a 7, even a 5. I'd be very happy with that. Leon gives the match a 6. So the Triple H pattern continues. 1 match per half-hour block. Usually an opening promo, usually a closing promo, but it looks like we might get a closing match this time around. Maybe we'll actually get 5. You know Triple H is under pressure to add more matches to his pay-per-views. 4 minutes to the hour. Grayson Waller is having his show introduced. Few boos from the crowd, nothing huge. There is a disco ball. Is there always a disco ball? The Dynamite from Down Under, that's a line. James wants CM Punk versus Meltzer at Collision. Not today. You can clearly see Grayson Waller. Let's hear what the crowd do. Few boos. A bit robotic though. Again, not much energy in the crowd tonight. Megan says, I want eye candy and Scottish supremacy, not Ronda pretending like she still cares. Sean says, could Tony Khan sign Ronda if he wanted? No, Ronda Rousey is under contract to the WWE. She is not available. D Lavender 00 has subscribed. Welcome to the show and thank you very kindly for subscribing. Good to see you. By all means, let us know what you're thinking of SmackDown so far. Ghost says it speaks volumes that both tag teams called up from NXT exhibit more chemistry than the rest of the teams on the main roster, yet it's probably unlikely for them to be pushed anytime soon in favour of Ronda and Shayna. That's correct. Ronda and Shayna are the champions, they're also the bankable ones. They will help maintain viewership, whereas the NXT tag teams, as mentioned, need a little bit more time to gel. Just a little bit more time. Sean says Grayson Waller effect over Miz TV. Blue says, do you think Ronda is happy in the WWE? Yes, because if she wasn't, she would leave. She has that ability. We have a recap of last week. Pretty Deadly pinning the Brawling Brutes to win the gauntlet match. What I will say is that these two are a serious threat to Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens, who, given that Grayson Waller's the draw segment, we may see tonight. Peter says, I don't enjoy these talk show segments, they just bore me, but hey ho. No, I get it. They need variation, they can't just do wrestling match after wrestling match, so I get it. Blue says, does Ronda have the contract with the most freedom? If not her, who? Either her or Bray. Immediate name drop for Kevin Owens. Bye, we'll see you later. That's definitely going to come back to bite them. They know that. Kevin Owens not the most patient man in the world. Personally, I would think this tag team match happens at SummerSlam rather than Money in the Bank. But we'll have to wait and see what actually happens there. Blue says, I used to like the talk show segments, but the problem is they just lack diversity. They all feel the same now, in my opinion. Not unfair. I do like that they've actually got a desk and palm trees. There's an aesthetic here that's good for Grayson Waller. Oh no, it is Money in the Bank. Fair enough. Shout out to the royalty. Ugh. Wiggly says, when will Ronda be available when her contract's up? I don't know. I've been able to report previously on Ronda Rousey's contract. I do not have that information today. Ghost says there needs to be a feud built up for Grayson Waller. I like the concept of the Grayson Waller effect, but he needs to do more in order to garner more crowd reactions. It is a background push. They're establishing his personality before they establish who he is in ring. And honestly, I'm okay with it. Bailey says Kevin Owens is great when he gets upset at things that don't make sense in wrestling. Yes, but he's not always the most convincing. I mean, the whole Elias Ezekiel same person thing, just it's not a big moment really. And just I feel he needs to move on. He's never really accepted the facts and realities there. I'm not surprised at expensive tickets, mate. Show's next week. Sean says, if MJF did come to WWE, who would you like to see be his first feud? It'll be The Miz. We all know it'll be The Miz. I think Austin Theory would be good. MJF versus Austin Theory. Get him the United States Championship. And also potentially throw him straight at Cody. But it'd be The Miz. Overall, solid promos from all of them. Solid promos from all three. It's not often they have the three most annoying people they can find being annoying in the draw segment. It's a risk. At this point, they are really making up how gauntlet matches work. This is insufferable. If it was just me watching, I would probably turn off now. Good evening, Teflon Don. We have Sheamus versus Solo Sikoa tonight. That's keeping me interested. That is keeping me interested, but it's not great. It's not great. Bailey says, is the name MJF owned by AW? No. And Wiggly says, who do you predict will be the next AW champion? Adam Cole, baby. This is going on far too long. Yeah, this is not something that is an enjoyable experience. I get that they're trying to be annoying. I get that eventually once Kevin Owens' music hits, you're going to get a big pop. You'd get a big pop anyway. Oh, you mentioned Street Profits. You should never mention Street Profits. Looks like no Kevin Owens or Sami Zayn today, but the Street Profits have a point to prove. So it says, doing the birthday overlays, I watched, what was the name of the character with the yellow hoodie? Character from what? Was it a TV show? Was it an anime? Teflon Don says, it's just my opinion. I don't see what everyone else sees in KO and Sammy. I do. It's very enjoyable. Panda something. I'm not with you, Si. Kung Fu Panda was never yellow. Did I have a character in a yellow hoodie? Hard to tell. I've done a lot of stuff. Wiggly, I think good wrestlers could do it wherever good wrestling is requested. I think everyone in AEW could also do a job in WWE, and everyone in WWE could also do a job in AEW. So we are going to get another impromptu match. I always find it really interesting. How are they supposed to kayfabe this, you know? So far, for SmackDown, they actually only booked 3 matches, because 2 of them have randomly been added to the card. That does not make sense. Doesn't make any sense. Oh, my red panda onesie. The red panda onesie's in the other room. Nothing but good times. Nothing but good times. But yes, a red panda onesie. It's not a character. It's just a red panda. Which I recently went to the zoo to look at a red panda, and I just stood there looking at a red panda because it was so cute. You know how there are things everyone loves and things everyone hates and blah blah blah. Red pandas. I love red pandas. Red pandas are my thing. They are my jam, baby. As you guys will know, because I spent most of the winter wearing the red panda onesie. It became a trademark. You'll know when it gets cold again because I'll be rocking the red panda all over again. That's exactly right, Peter. The red panda onesie is hibernating. It's too warm, and it is too warm. I used to sleep in that thing. It was the only choice. There was no other way. No other way. We all have to survive somehow. And in days when it gets cold, and it got cold this winter, primarily because we couldn't turn our heating on because it's too expensive now. Boo. But we're just surviving however we can. And the answer was red pandas. What we need is, what animal would certain wrestlers be? And then you put them in that onesie. Like Kevin Owens. I'm very interested to know what animal people think he would be. Because he's very much got the loud, verbose nature, always ready for a fight, but very easily frustrated. Sami Zayn would be something a bit more chill, a bit more homely, a bit more placid. I can imagine him being something like an anteater. Peter says KO would be a bull elephant. I think you're onto something there. Something loud, something verbose, something which his nose gets us in trouble. I could see it. I could see it. I don't think we'd get anyone that you call a lion outside of, for example, a Roman Reigns. I think you're going to get a cheeky cheetah. Like, Sami Zayn does not scream cheetah for me. He's not going to hunt down a predator. Or prey. There is no prey. Sami Zayn would definitely be a herbivore. What I do like the idea of is Edge being like a really excitable tiny little yappy chihuahua. Like, that makes sense. Just a little yappy thing that will not let you... will not leave you alone. Just will not leave you alone. I'm seeing things pop up, but they're not popping up on my bit. So, if I should be getting an alert, please let me know, because I'm seeing the alert, but it's not actually coming through on my streaming setting. So I do apologize if that's an alert I should be reading out. If it was a subscription or something, for example, I would love to have read that out and said thank you, but unfortunately I haven't caught it. Wiggly suggesting Kevin Owens is a bulldog. Bailey says in the US, Red Panda is a Chinese acrobat who appears at basketball games, catches plates on a head while riding a unicycle. Wow. Wiggly says Sami Zayn's a koala. Wiggly suggests Bailey's a hyena. Megan says Edge is a golden retriever. And Seth is a peacock. Vibrant look of an unmistakable sound. Peacocking. I can definitely see him peacocking. Street Profits versus Pretty Deadly up at this point. Now, having had them win the gauntlet, it's going to be very awkward if we just let them lose to Street Profits now. So logically, either Grayson Waller has to be involved, or we have to see Austin Theory here, which could well take us back to Austin Theory versus Montez Ford. Peter also suggests a hyena. Peter says the Usos are Timon and Pumbaa. Squid says, who is the wrestler you get the most questions about generally? Sasha Banks, no question. A lot of the people who are here originally followed me because of a Sasha Banks report. Those have been some of my most recognized reports, and in many ways the respect on my name is due to the accuracy of those reports. There's plenty more. Reporting that Bray Wyatt had signed a new deal a month before he arrived back on TV was certainly a big moment. Reporting on the return of Becky Lynch before it happened was certainly a big moment. Nowhere else had that. So these are things that certainly work in my favour. But I think Mercedes money, Sasha Banks is the one. Joey says, hey Tom, I hear Vince made some remote changes yet again. Yep. Vince McMahon is making changes to basically every single show. Blue says, I started following you, Tom, because of Brawl Out. There hasn't quite been a year yet. Brawl Out, good times. Good times. That certainly got a lot of attention. So yeah, I swear CM Punk knew what he was doing. He was just trying to raise hell. Wiggly says Charlotte would be a swan. I agree with that. The match itself is pretty high tempo so far. Pretty deadly, showing what they've got in the ring. Definitely establishing personality in a very strong way. Street Profits, of course, are Street Profits. We know what that is. Sean says, after the match with Carmelo, do you see Corbin appearing on NXT anymore? Quite possibly, yes. He is still a free agent. He can still do that. Montez Ford and a brawler. Angelo Dawkins not quite believing what he's seeing. But you know, I'm down with it. Down with it. Megan says Dolph Ziggler would be a bug there to be squashed. Go says breaking news, Randy Orton is a Viper, life changing. I know. Joey says, I found your channel when you reported Cody is coming back to the WWE. That was a while back. And Leon says, I started following you in September. Pardon me, with the Bray news. It was a pretty good day for the channel, I've got to say. I think that show gained us 50 subscribers on its own. It is still to this day the most subscribers we've ever gained in a single day. And yeah, it was a big one. It was a big one. Squid says, I found recently because I was searching for Bray Wyatt. Hate that I'm the guy right now talking about Bray. It's okay, mate. It's okay. There is plenty of reason for it, and I try and give as much information as I can about Bray Wyatt. If you're looking for news on Bray, I still maintain and have absolute confidence that this is the place you'll find the most news. So just let me know on that one if there's anything else that you're looking for. Joey says, I wonder if Vince is a fan of Pretty Deadly. I'm sure we'll find out. If changes were made, and they're still very much there, it's a good sign. Gomar says, Street Profits looking pretty good. Welcome, Gomar. How you doing? Good to see so many familiar faces as usual. I know we didn't have a watch-along last week, and we also missed a couple last month because of the Paris trip that I was on. Last week, I was at a stag do in Manchester. And yeah, it was a good time. Genuinely a good time. I kind of like Manchester. I like just wandering around it. I like getting lost in the buildings around the Arndale Centre, you know? And I have a good group. Good pals. Good people. Good brothers. Gomar says, hello Tom, how's it going? Going well, thank you Gomar. Thank you very much for checking in. How are you, mate? CM says, just started watching, what have I missed so far? Well, our main event is going to be Sheamus versus Solo Sikoa. Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler are indeed the women's tag team champions. Liv Morgan has returned as well. Joey says, I like when WWE had the separate creative teams during 2016 when the brand split first started. The shows felt different. There are technically separate creative teams, but there's a lot of overlap, unfortunately. Pete says, how dare you have a night off? Can you ask us all next time? Glad you had fun. Thank you, Peter. Appreciate that. The momentum of the channel hasn't recovered from Paris, but at the same time, I don't need to be burning the candle at both ends. I don't need to be chasing, you know? I can be happy with what I have because I have fun on these shows. And you guys are right here with me, keeping me entertained. So, as long as you guys are having fun, I'm a very happy boy. We are back from break. It is still Street Profits versus Pretty Deadly. Logically then, after this, we'll have Charlotte versus Lacey, and it'll be about 2 minutes long. But Charlotte will still get a promo out of it, so... Joey says he should do some gaming on Kick. Absolutely not. I have no interest in Kick whatsoever. I've done my research and the platform simply is not for me. There's a lot of new platforms that pop up. They pop up, they're there, like Mixer was way back when, for a couple of years and then they go under. And when they promise massive numbers, when they promise massive revenue share, you know they will eventually hit a point where their service base simply isn't fit anymore. If you don't operate a variable model, then the situation is simply untenable. Joey, how is it better than Twitch? I'd love your opinion on this. Tell me more. Peter says, I just hit nearly 400 subs on my other channel. Well done, Peter. Good to hear it, mate. Good to hear it. But I would genuinely love to have this conversation. Let's share opinions on this. Ghost says Liv Morgan is a puppy, 100%. Wiggly says Matt Riddle would be a chilled out basset hound. You got his number there. Sean says, will Ronda and Shayna get a new title? I find that unlikely. Megan says, I only signed up to Kick to make sure no one took my name. We've been having pretty in-depth discussions on the Discord about this. Myself, Lauren, Mark, we've been talking in quite some detail as to what we would, what we look for in a platform and what works for us. Also, to be fair, I think one of the great things about the Discord is that we can share opinions like that. Joey says, I like the design of it. Looks better than Twitch. And Twitch teaches their streamers like crap. Joey, my focus is not on Twitch. My focus is on YouTube. YouTube, I believe, is the superior platform by far. I'm on Twitch at the moment, certainly because I started on Twitch. And I don't want to walk away from that, or in fact the individuals who only have Twitch. But my focus is on YouTube, and that's where it will very much stay. Peter believes Kick is more geared towards degenerate gamblers, and it won't last. The gambling side of Kick is going to be a problem, yeah. With the revenue split that they have, it's simply unsustainable. It is simply unsustainable without gambling being involved. Pretty Deadly have picked up the win. Little bit of cheating, little sleight of hand there. They essentially run away with the victory. But I do want to say, I feel like they gave you the bang for the buck there. I would say that match was quality. I'd give it a 6. I'd absolutely say 6. Joey says, how is the gaming streams on YouTube? Pretty damn good. Pretty damn good. The advantage of YouTube that other platforms do not offer is pure discoverability. YouTube has millions upon millions of people, and YouTube is constantly trying to expose those millions upon millions of people to content. Kick does not have millions upon millions of people. Blue says, happy you started up on YouTube. I find Twitch a bit annoying to use. Different people look at it differently. I essentially was on Twitch until I got to a point where I could monetize on YouTube. And then I monetized on YouTube. Joey says XQC just got a huge deal from Kick. Yep. And they're paying for that pretty heavily with money that they don't have. If their business model starts with spending all of their money, it's not a great start. Sai gives it a 6, Jack a 6, Leon gives the match a 7. Bailey gives it a 6, Megan gives it a 6.5, says like this a tiny bit more than the LA Rey match. Megan says Twitch works for me even though I'm seemingly stuck at 384 pixel quality. If Kick lasts more than a year in its current form, I will be shocked. Wiggly says Alexa would be a nay. At this point, you kind of need to put that one to bed. Sean says if it wasn't Charlotte, who do you think would have ended Asuka's undefeated streak? Sasha. If it wasn't Charlotte, it would have been Sasha. Peter gives the match an 8 as well. Joey says seems like a lot of streamers are bailing on Twitch after they announced that new rule. Yeah, Twitch is dying. Twitch is slowly dying. Kick will die pretty much instantaneously. Joey says who even funds Kick? I know Trainwrecks TV has a share in the company. I don't know, honestly. Like, you're singing his praises, mate, and you don't even know who funds it. Personally, I think YouTube is a superior platform of all the available platforms, and that's where I'll be keeping it. Gomar says a bit upset at the ending of the match, but I understand they're just building up pretty deadly. They are, and in many ways this won't hurt the Street Profits all that much. They're one of those teams that can survive pretty much anything. Charlotte Flair is making her entrance. Looking, as usual, absolutely amazing. Joey says, I haven't looked into it. If you're thinking of streaming on a platform, look into it. Blue says, I believe Kick will stick around for a while because of those that own it are using it as a pipeline to their unregulated crypto gambling site. Yep. And that's how it goes. When crypto continues to crash, Kick will go with it. Much like you never hear about NFTs anymore. Y'all remember NFTs? Remember how NFTs are worth millions? They're not. Wiggly says you think Twitch will die? Yeah. Robotron, I think, will move to YouTube. I think he has a monetized YouTube channel. If you're not already aware, John Robertson, a comedian that I'm a very big fan of, that Wiggly's also familiar with. I believe I did a raid on his channel a long time back. I've learned a lot from him about streaming. So if you want to stream, if you want to create videos, check out John Robertson, check out Robotron. You genuinely will learn a lot, and you'll see a lot of where I got, a lot of what I learned from him very quickly. And I think he would move across to YouTube, and I think he'd be very clever to do so. If you're averaging the amount of people that he does with a higher revenue share and ad revenue, he'd be doing well. Thank you, Bailey. I appreciate that. I don't think it's going to be that instantaneous. I really don't. I think what will happen is that people like XQC will be back. I think when Kick collapses, they'll go back to Twitch. I think a lot of people who went to Facebook Gaming went back to Twitch. Joey said if they get more big streamers from Twitch, it might last longer. Yes, and they'll have to spend a lot more money that they are not currently making. That's the issue. They are spending beyond their means. Peter says everyone bow to the Queen. Yeah, baby. And Dom says, not Lacey, shake my damn head. Why? Charlotte's got to beat someone. Would you rather she just keeps beating up Sonya Deville? Joey says Ninja could get the best deal ever. He walked out with over 100 mil, I think, for only streaming on Mixer for a year. Yep, and that's a large part of the reason why Mixer collapsed entirely, because Mixer was not making more than 100 mil a year as well as also paying their costs on their servers and all of the revenue to others. This is the problem. Very short-term thinking. The idea is, oh, you got to spend money to make money. That's not necessarily the case anymore. I started this YouTube channel with absolutely nothing. I started the Twitch channel with absolutely nothing. A lot of you guys won't be fully familiar with it, but there was about 6 months when I would stream on both YouTube and Twitch, and on both sides, the only person that would be there would be Ed. Still an OG. Still an OG. So there were some difficult times, and you push through and you persevere and you start to find people. But I found people from YouTube and then transfer them to Twitch. Twitch does not have discoverability. If you are on Twitch, you will be fed a steady stream of the biggest names. You will not be fed any of the people lower down the roster. You won't. So if you're a streamer who doesn't have too many viewers, you can't grow. YouTube does not work like that, so it's massively advantageous. I haven't looked into the Kick algorithm as of yet. I don't honestly think I'm going to, but if it's anything like Twitch, it can't survive. Leon says, seems like this match replaced Shotzi versus Bayley. It does seem so, yes. Joey says, I think Mixer was only an Xbox exclusive app. That's why it failed. It wasn't. There's a lot more to it. I'd imagine that didn't help. Blue says, I'm very happy with Triple H seemingly believing in NXT talent, giving them chances, making them and the brand feel like they matter. Since the draft, there has been a huge change in the overall use of people, and it's a very, very, very different situation. Ghost says, ask her a heel or a face? Do the heel. Do the heel. Wiggly says, don't want to ask a somber question, but do you think we will all get to already for wrestling and Twitch and streaming, etc. one day? At that point, do we just tune into radio and read magazines on bird watching? I'm not sure what you're saying, Wiggly. I'm going to need a lot more clarification there. Megan says, I'd be happy to get to 100 followers on Twitch. Nice round number, and a small community suits me better. The community, the community element on Twitch is superior, because ultimately YouTube exposes you to a lot more people. So you're always going to get a few that aren't really winners. Thankfully, I've been very lucky with the people that we have in this room. Joey says, that must have been hard streaming at the beginning when you have a small following. Can hardly make any money unless you get donations, I think. Yeah. I'm still not making particularly big amounts. I'm doing okay. Blue says, you're 100% right, Tom. All my favourite Twitch streamers I found on YouTube where I was recommended reposts of their streams. Exactly. Discoverability right now, if you want to be found, YouTube, TikTok. The three big sites right now for discoverability are YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram. Twitter used to be the biggest, but under Elon Musk, it has changed. And it has changed massively. Now, the idea is, in all of these platforms, the algorithm is designed to do one thing, and that's to keep you there. YouTube wants to keep you on YouTube 24/7. So it's going to feed you a steady diet of content that you like, similar to what's already in your watch history, in order to try and keep you on the platform. The same thing is happening on TikTok. Twitch cannot offer that. It simply cannot offer that. Joey says, where has JD McDonough been? Feels like he's been on and off TV. He has been on and off TV. There are plans for him, but at the moment the focus is on Finn Balor versus Seth. So they're letting it fade to the background a little bit. I do not expect this match to be very long. Lacey Evans is just establishing her character, which is the same as it's always been. It's a nice moonsault. Charlotte Flair just essentially re-establishing what she can do. Peter says, I've had huge viewer numbers on TikTok, to be fair. TikTok right now is the highest potential for growth that exists. I had more than 1,000 views on TikTok yesterday, just yesterday. and I only have about 200 followers there. Followers actually don't mean anything on TikTok. So, for example, I went to see Muse on Tuesday in Huddersfield. I got lots of little videos. All of them will go on TikTok. You guys won't see them because you're not interested in that. You're interested in wrestling. So you will only see my wrestling content because TikTok will immediately recognize that it's not wrestling content and it won't feed it to people who do watch wrestling content. But I might get lots of views. And if I get lots of views, TikTok will put the wrestling content in front of more people who watch wrestling, etc., etc. TikTok's nailed it. So Lacey Evans lost, tapping out to the figure 8 in her standard fare. I think the match ended up lasting, 4 minutes at most. Asuka has taken the opportunity to lay in a few hits on Charlotte to further build hype to their championship match next week on SmackDown. Adam says, is it possible that Karrion Kross can become world champion with Vince involved? Everything is on the table. Forever is a very long time. And Joey says, it'd be fun watching you play AEW Fight Forever. I don't see myself getting it. I just don't. Bailey says, Lacey doesn't even get music for her entrance. She did. This is not particularly loud. Do you think we'll all get too old for this one day? Well, yeah, mate, I'm 35 and I'm a streamer. Never thought I'd say that phrase. Oh, thank you for that, Ghost. That's brilliant. Wiggly says, Twitter is essential if you're political. Twitter's essential in general, but certainly not as essential as it used to be. Bailey says, time of the match, 2 minutes 30. Yeesh. With that in mind, I'll give the match a 4. And I think I'm being positive on that one. I'll give the match a 4. They're giving us a recap of the build from an hour ago to Sheamus versus Solo Sikoa. And I just want to point out once again, I'm very excited for this. There is a physicality to both men that I'm just very excited to see in action. Joey says, Triple H will have to throw the script away from Vince if he wants to push Cross. Stranger things have happened. Peter says, same as you, Tom, give the match a 4, and Leon gives the match a 3. Solo Sikoa is starting his entrance. Looks like we'll actually get some time on this one. There'll be a commercial break, so most is going to be 20 minutes, but I'd still enjoy it. Bailey gives the match a 3 out of 10, says Lacey did nothing, which is kind of accurate. Megan also a 3. I don't believe for a second that the Usos have left. Usos versus Solo is an opportunity here. So what I would like to say, and Ghost, you've given me an opportunity here that I appreciate. What I really like about this community is how well we help and support each other. Mark has popped up on Ed's stream, for example, on Lauren's stream. Lauren and Ed both got to affiliate on Twitch in no time flat because of the generosity of people here. Sorry, Ed got there, Lauren's on the way. We also have people from OLE, Astrid, wonderful people creating wonderful content. Megan as well, right there. She's been doing this for a while and she's very much cracked the code, as it were, of making very chill, enjoyable content that I just like popping up and having a chat every now and then. It's lovely. It's genuinely quite reassuring. You know? It's like getting a nice pat on the head. Just a nice little pat on the head, you know? And because this community is so supportive of each other, we all continue to grow. And as we grow and grow, what I will say is that we grow together and nothing is going to stop us. Nothing. Eric says, I really thought this would be the main event. Solo Sikoa versus Sheamus is the main event. I'd imagine once we're back from commercial break, we'll get a couple of backstage segments. Sheamus will start his entrance, another commercial break, and then we'll get about 15 minutes of actual wrestling with a commercial break in the middle of it. This is a very difficult time to watch SmackDown. This final half hour, particularly the first 10 minutes of the final half hour, kind of a waste of time. Peter says there's a song about nothing's going to stop us. I believe it's called Nice of Sardonia, which I do not have a video of. Once I've got time to edit, which will be tomorrow by the way, I will be uploading those videos onto TikTok. But I also did a stitch with WWE. We have options. We have options. Yeah, okay, Eric, I get you. It's not a 3-hour show, thankfully, because in 25 minutes I do need to go bed. Need to go beddy bye. Sleepy go bye time. So far tonight we've had 222 views, 18 likes, so pretty good spot to be in. I thank everyone who's given us a like already. If you haven't, please do consider hitting that thumbs up. Same name, Peter, yes. If you want to follow me on TikTok, I can make that happen. I'm going to drop a link for anyone who is not yet followed on TikTok. And you can check it out. What I do on TikTok is very similar to here. Most of it is essentially the shorts, just repackaged slightly and with auto captions. But I also do a little bit that I don't cross over. TikTok will be more about who I am as a person rather than just the wrestling side. Whereas on YouTube, I'll have the gaming channel eventually. I'll have a news channel. I might have a football channel, etc. Different channels for everything. On TikTok, everything comes under one roof. Because TikTok will just send different things to people with different interests. TikTok doesn't care about followers. That just basically tells it how many people to send it to. But they will look for people of the same interests. We just got to see Drew McIntyre on WTV for the first time in a while. Bianca Belair is backstage with Adam Pearce. Wiggly says people comment about how Cyndi Lauper hasn't apparently been asked to join the Hall of Fame. Has she maybe turned it down? No idea. Didn't say that, Wiggly. Definitely didn't say that. Oh, what have I missed, Peter? Yeah, it's a slightly different profile picture. I may or may not be aiming for something. Okay, we're talking about next week, trying to hype up the match between Asuka and Charlotte Flair. Adam Pearce is barring Bianca Belair from ringside. I don't believe for a second that that's going to stick. I still personally have the triple threat at Money in the Bank. And then move on to a straight one-on-one between Asuka and Charlotte at SummerSlam. It's personally where I'd go. So plenty of hype for it. We're now down to just 20 minutes. Running out of time once again. Thank you very much, Pete, for the follow on TikTok. Lovely to see. Takes me up to 205, which is nice. I do like that you see like the amount of likes you get. My very first... Next week, Logan Paul will be in the UK on the Grayson Waller effect. My second TikTok video comes direct from NXT UK. And it is a recording... Roman Reigns next week as well. What a surprise. It is a recording of NXT UK Blackpool when the Undisputed Era attacked Imperium. Sean says, do we think Vince will change anything about SmackDown next week? Yeah. Vince is constantly making changes. Constantly. Blue says, knowing the WWE, they'll see the triple threat as a bigger match and save it for SummerSlam. Which I don't hate. Joey would like to stop the Grayson Waller effect. Personally, I don't. I think he's getting over on his character and his personality. And that will be a big help when he actually does step in the ring. So 20 minutes to go. Sheamus is starting to make his entrance. Once again, I'm pretty confident we are about to have ourselves another commercial break. He didn't, Joey. He didn't. Sheamus versus Solo has to be a good match. Has to be. I can't imagine a world in which it's not. This is a huge opportunity for Solo Not just main eventing, but also really establishing who he is and what he does. I also want to say a thank you, by the way, as we head into our final 20 minutes. So far today, we've gained 9 subscribers. 9. We're up to 2,471. Now, there's every possibility some of those numbers will drop back down again, but I'm pretty happy with that. I think this was a day well spent, and I think a sign that YouTube is starting to recommend my content once again, particularly the CM Punk Dave Meltzer video, which is doing pretty well right now. Sean says, Tom, since you're a Becky fan, would you say she's one of the GOATs of this era and a generational talent? Yeah. Yes, I would. I wouldn't have said that before she became the man, but I was a fan beforehand. The promo backstage with Daniel Bryan after the first Women's Money in the Bank and before the second Women's Money in the Bank, where she was essentially saying, why do I bother trying to play by the rules if I don't get rewarded for it? Ghost says, Sheamus versus Roman incoming. I don't think so. I think this is a one and done. Just a way of further establishing Solo and building towards Money in the Bank. Bailey says, Becky cuts a promo better than anyone since The Rock, which is high praise indeed, and not necessarily unfair. So far so good. Few punches, few kicks. No big hits, but I'm sure they're coming. Plenty of ladders at ringside, which hopefully they'll take advantage of at some point. Joey says, looks like Cameron Grimes and Corbin got scrapped. Was that planned? If so, they've really rewritten the show, and to be honest, it's not been terrible. I'm very happy with this as the main event, I tell you that. I'm wondering what the main event would have been under Triple H. We are still very much in the punching section. I did see Damian Priest mentioning moves that hurt. I think it was Chris Van Vliet he was speaking to, mentioning what actually hurts to take. Spoke about the slam dunk from Bobby Lashley, but also distinctly mentioned anything that Sheamus does. Anything that Sheamus does. Dom says he does know John Cena gave him goosebumps on certain promos. To be fair, John Cena, there's a talent there. We haven't even talked about people like CM Punk. Wiggly says, who on the current roster, excluding Orton and Cena, would be in the Hall of Fame? Roman, obviously. Sheamus will definitely get into the Hall of Fame. The Miz will get into the Hall of Fame, for sure. All 4 of the Horsewomen, yes, that includes Sasha Banks. And probably Ronda Rousey. Ghost says, if not Sheamus, who's next for Roman? The only other names I can think of, the Usos, particularly Jay. And Jay's next. The build for the Usos versus Roman Reigns and Solo Sikoa is just a way to get Jay versus Roman in the ring. I do think there's a wide open spot for a Roman Reigns title defense at SummerSlam. Joey says, I wish they would put the Hurt Business back together. Bobby has nothing to do right now. Bobby Lashley should be returning relatively soon. Depending on if they have plans for him at SummerSlam, he'll either be before, or if they have no plans, after. But he is ready and raring to go. That moment will come relatively soon. Sheamus out on the apron with Solo. Thought we were going to get the beats, but not quite yet. Solo, a bit of dead weight. Is he going to the outside? Nope, he's just escaping. Not the most exciting of moments. They're trying to kick it into high gear, but I think they're failing to communicate a little bit. Solo with a Samoan drop on the outside. Looking good. Paul Heyman back at him as well. And we have our last commercial break of the evening. Sean says Seth would get in the Hall of Fame. Moxley through the Shield, New Day. Shield definitely, New Day, yeah. Bailey says 10 women guaranteed. 4 horsewomen: Alexa, Asuka, Ronda, Rhea, Bianca, and probably Natalya. Natalya, I'm surprised is not already in there, to be honest. Very surprised on that. Sean suggests the Usos as well. I still think there's plenty of people who could get into a point where they might actually have to make the classes a bit bigger in order to make it happen. Or just get the physical one and people can go there like Madame Tussauds. Make people think their wax works when they're not. And just jump out and scare people, because that'd be fun. I'm not normal, am I? I'm very excitable. I'm a very excitable boy. Only about 10 minutes left. And I think it's fair to say this one's been middle of the road. I think being generous, this particular SmackDown has just sort of been there. I can't really say I rate it. I can't say I've enjoyed it all that much. But it's been okay. I haven't hated it. There's not much more I can really say about it. This just sort of happened. Dom says, do you think Al Snow or Goldust will get in? Goldust, yeah. Yes. Not sure on Al Snow. Noah Gaming, welcome, says, do you think Brock will interfere with Cody and Dominic's match? Yes. Brock's here to cause some carnage. He's a heel again. He wants to destroy some people. He'll take the opportunity, and Cody's right there. Cody is right there. Sean says, I could also say Saraya, probably not AJ Lee. And Bailey says, he's a Hall of Fame name I probably wouldn't have said a few years ago, but Michael Cole. No, I wholeheartedly agree with that. I absolutely agree. Michael Cole is fully deserving. Sai says, it feels like a filler SmackDown until Roman is next available. Something I've been wary of for a while. Not unfair, and something that we have been seeing for a while. We do seem to be back to the SmackDown days where if there's no Roman, there's no show. There's no Roman, there's no point, you know? They weren't dark times, but they were days when Sami Zayn had to work overtime, you know? When Becky Lynch had to come across and stuff like that. Noah says, will The Rock make a return to cost Roman Solo Money in the Bank? No. When they're doing Raw commercials now, they make a point of showing make a point of showing Dominic unable to complete a sentence. Ooh, Money in the Bank Summit. Are they all going to be on top of the ladders? That was an old one, but still a good one. Joey says, Raw was hard to watch back in 2021 and the pandemic era. All of wrestling was hard to watch in 2021, to be fair. SmackDown wasn't much better. It really wasn't. Blue says, if you had to guess, do you think The Rock will ever wrestle again? I don't have to guess. If I did, I'd say yes or no. Dom says, Dominic will beat Cody thanks to Brock, so now he can say beat AJ and Cody. He's making a list. Is he checking it twice? Just to make sure. Noah says, who do you think will win, Seth versus Finn? Noah, my predictions are live on the channel as we speak. You want to pop over to the video section and check out the Money in the Bank predictions and preview. It'll tell you everything you want to know about Money in the Bank. Leon says, SmackDown has been okay, but to be honest, if it wasn't for your live stream, I'd have probably turned the show off. Honestly, I get more excited for your live streams than I do for SmackDown. I appreciate that, Leon. That's a pretty high compliment for me, and I really do appreciate that. I think if I wasn't streaming it, I probably would have turned it off myself. It's been an average SmackDown. Average isn't quite good enough. Isn't quite good enough. Please says, respect Tom. Set myself up for that one. Yes, you did. Joey says, The Rock's going to come back for one more match of Omos. I mean, he put him over. When The Rock does eventually return, if he does wrestle, it'll be to lose. He knows what he did. He knows his job. And no, we started with the Usos segment, and that has been pretty good, I'll tell you that. I do feel there's something missing from this match. Also, I'm not happy with how much of Sheamus's thong I can see. I'm not happy with how much of it I can see. Oh, lovely big move there from Sheamus. There's a lack of intensity. That's what I feel is missing. There's a lack of intensity. There we go. Sheamus is starting to throw some moves in. This is definitely going to hurt, and I don't mean in kayfabe. This is genuinely going to be hurting. You can see Solo's not selling. He's actually hurt. We're back to the apron. I'd imagine he's going to get his chest beat now. Sheamus is sweating so much, it's pooling on the tip of his nose. Awkward for everyone involved. Solo trying to communicate there. Sheamus checking in there to make sure it's make sure it can go hard. Solo gave him 10 and then called it. For those beats, by the way, when the wrestler unhooks their arm, that's them signaling to Sheamus to stop. Because they genuinely hurt. Noah Drew will come back. I don't think he'll be back for Money in the Bank. He's still technically injured at the moment and he's not cleared to wrestle. Starting to get that intensity I was looking for now. I do think Solo's going to win this one, but this has easily been the best match of the show so far. I still don't get the need. Just if you can brogue kick someone, brogue kick them. Why wouldn't you do that? Why would you not do that? The option's right there. Just take it. Just take it. The Sheamus limp, a favourite of mine. Now, if we are going to see the Usos, it should be relatively soon if they have some revenge that they want. Though what I will say, the Usos and Solo are kind of even. More even than I expected at this point. Blue says after Money in the Bank and outside of Saudi, where do you think the next international PLE will be? The options at the moment are India, Australia or China. Australia seems to be the front runner at this point in time. Joey says it'd be funny if you ran into JD from NY at Wembley. Why? Like, what do I get from that? I couldn't care less about the guy. Somebody took a clip out of one of my shows and put it on Twitter and tagged in JD from NY and said, "Oh look, this guy's been shady." Just blocked him and moved on. I don't know if there was a response. I don't know if he even saw it. I don't really care. He's not important enough for me to care about his opinion. Now, I could call him out in person, but why? There's no value in any of this. I'm not going to waste my limited time and effort hating people. He's just not important to me in any way. Joey says, I remember he called you a WWE shield because someone mentioned your name in his comments. Okay. He doesn't know me. And this just further proves stuff. I don't value the opinion of strangers. So I'm not going to be offended by someone pretending to know something about me. That hurt. Solo through the barricade. The match has been stopped. The match has been stopped. The booking here is very clear. Solo Sikoa is a killer. Michael Cole there reading his script to try and work out what he's supposed to say. Very obviously so. But yeah, the intention is clear. Solo Sikoa a killer. He dangerous. Be careful. That's the plan. That's the show. That was the whole point. Blue says if only CM Punk had the same view on not caring what strangers think. Maybe he should. Maybe it'd help. Here come the Usos, as expected. There's just something about them screams that they've been down since day one, like ish. Bailey says the pop for Rhea in an Australian pay-per-view would be epic. Wiggly says never talk to strangers. And Sean says JD hates Vince McMahon without even knowing him. Okay. The Usos are taking down Solo Sikoa, taking their time. You're right, Sean. I'm sorry. They're day one. It is just so H. Cool, Noah. Thanks for dropping in. I'll see you soon. Like, I know how this works, guys. I know that because of somewhat similar titles, I've at times been fed viewers from JD from NY. But that doesn't mean I care about him. Doesn't mean he's important. Meh. Another hit on Solo Sikoa. He keeps showing for it. Sheamus might not actually be okay. The officials... Right, the officials just instructed the Usos to splash, and that is a terrible splash. That was not good. Let me guess, Paul Heyman's going to call Roman Reigns again. So says, thanks Tom and all. Not a huge Smackdown. 5 out of 10 for me. Same. Middle of the road. Kind of boring. I'm grateful to have all of you for keeping me company. And for making that time fly a little bit faster. But in the meantime, I will be wrapping. Go says, why no Bailey versus Shotzi? What happened? The match was pulled. Looks like Vince McMahon did indeed make some changes. So that's been Smackdown. We'll be back live once again on Monday. If you're looking for more Tom Colohue content, we will of course be having Nick and Tom's Intercontinental Adventure tomorrow on the PW Torch, Daily Cast, and I'll continue to put videos through. If you want to check out the CM Punk versus Dave Meltzer video, hopefully you will enjoy it. But in the meantime, all I will say, as per usual at this point, is that I have been Tom Colohue. You have been fantastic, and I'll see you all very soon.